Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Mean Trick in the Daddit subreddit. The post is titled, "My brother called me at 2 a.m. in tears asking if I'd raise his 2-year-old. Now I'm scared. Last week, my older brother called in the middle of the night. He was crying, really crying, and asked me to promise I would look after his little girl if anything ever happened to him. He has always been steady. He sailed through their first child's newborn chaos, but since the second came along, something has changed. He spends evenings alone in the driveway, just sitting in the car with the engine off. He moved into the spare room, so I don't keep my wife up, but it feels more like a retreat than courtesy. During the day, he texts all good without any unusual signs. I am scared this is more than normal dad stress. He won't bring it up with his wife and I don't want to bulldoze him, but I also don't want to wait for another 2 a.m. call. For parents, what actually helped you when fear and isolation took over? How do I start the conversation about therapy or support without making him shut down? Any ideas are welcome. I just want my brother present and okay for his kids." Edit 1. I read every single comment, thank you. The message is loud and clear. That 2 a.m. call was a SOS, not dad stress. I am flying out tonight. The plan is simple. Over breakfast, I am going to ask him straight up, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" If the answer is even close to yes, we will call 988 or go to a doctor together. Then I will drag him outside the house to do something he used to love. Maybe golf, maybe a steakhouse, or a bad action movie, just to let his brain breathe and create space for him to open up. At some point, I will gently loop his wife in so she is not in the dark. The ticket is booked. He thinks I am in town for work. I will keep you posted. Thanks for pushing me off the couch. Update. My brother called me at 2 a.m. If I don't make it, promise you'll raise my kids. So I flew across the country. Now I'm on his couch and here's what I just learned. Last night we ended up on his back porch around midnight, the baby monitor humming between us. It was quiet for a long stretch, then he started talking and the words poured out. Pretty soon, we were both wiping our eyes. He's embarrassed that I flew across the country to babysit him, but even more scared about what would happen to his kids if he ever hit the point of no return. His business is buried in debt and a few clients still haven't paid, so every bill feels like a gut punch. Home is tense too. He took clients to a strip club on a work trip, told his wife right away so there were no secrets, tried to be close later, and she pulled back. He says that felt like the biggest humiliation of his life, and now he freezes whenever things might turn intimate. Back in February, he went to his primary care physician because he couldn't sleep. The doctor ran a quick screen, called it severe depression, and put him on medication. He didn't tell anyone because talking to a stranger won't fix it, and he figured he could muscle through. Meanwhile, he feels responsible for his wife, the kids, our parents, even me. At one point he said, "I can't breathe." The only thing that pulls him out of dark thoughts is his toddler's face in the morning. I pulled out my phone and showed him this Reddit thread. Thousands of strangers worrying over his 2 a.m. call. He shakes his head and laughs. I felt bad stressing you out. Now the whole internet's sweating over me. A bit of the weight slid off right there. Then I reminded him how many times I drafted him as my bodyguard while growing up, chasing off boys I didn't like and listening to me cry when the ones I liked didn't like me back. We cracked up at how he's been my unofficial relationship therapist forever while insisting he's bad at feelings. That laugh felt good, but one porch talk isn't a cure. So here's my ask. Therapy averse dads or moms who finally went, what flipped the switch for you? Depression survivors, what was the very first step that gave you air? 2 a.m. panic veterans. When you couldn't call anyone, what kept you from tipping over? Short answers, long stories, whatever helps. This community already got me on a plane. Maybe you'll get him to real daylight. Update 2. It's the sister with the 2 a.m. call. Back because something wild happened. Quick recap for anyone just dropping in. A few days ago at 2 a.m., my phone lit up. My brother asked if I could take care of his kids if something bad happened. The words sounded practical. The hour felt like a silent goodbye. I came here and told you everything. You answered, hundreds of you. Last night we read all 700 plus replies together. Each line felt like someone farther up the trail flashing a light back toward us. He set the phone down, shook his head, and said he asked me to pass along what landed, his lines and my narration around them. How did we all miss the sirens? Thread after thread told the same gut punch story. Brothers cracking jokes at dinner, FaceTiming goodnights, and then gone. Some waved flags, goodbye texts, sudden giveaways. Others wore flawless masks. Medication skipped, plans canceled, eyes smiling but empty. His takeaway, stop betting on maybe tomorrow, ask the blunt question, knock anyway, fire off the midnight check-in. Mine, show up first, hope later, drag them to the doctor today, not when the calendar clears. One knock at the right moment can keep a life from swinging shut. Therapy, Jack, not tow truck. He dodged therapy for years. Real men fix flats alone. Then one analogy finally landed. His takeaway, if you won't grab a tool for yourself, grab it so your kids don't grow up thinking silence is strength. Mine, therapy isn't a rescue crew, it lifts the frame so you can work. If the first jack slips, swap it and keep going. Depression never really moves out. We finally admitted it. Depression doesn't pack its bags. Most of us just learn to walk with the limp while acting like everything's fine. Relief looks different for everyone. Weights, riffs, sketchbooks, medication, cognitive behavioral therapy drills, but even the best routine collapses when you're alone and the limp turns to sludge. Action beats rumination. Ping a friend, walk a block, book the labs, anything. His takeaway, depression wins if I freeze alone. Any motion with people, lifting, riffing, walking, talking, pumps oxygen back into the day. Mine, normalize the limp, keep nudging toward motion, and never let anyone walk that limp alone. The 2 a.m. kill zone. That's when the brain rips off its daytime mask and insists the only exit is to stop breathing. 2 refrains echo. I wish he'd called, and I had no one to dial. We're never true islands, even a lone rock has fish swirling underneath, so reach out when you can't pull yourself back. His takeaway, when tunnel vision hits, a live voice is the crowbar that pries the door back open. Mine, build fail-safes before the kill zone. Keep numbers pinned, plans primed, and remember, if you can't calm your own storm, send a signal. Someone's awake and willing to steer you till morning. Why I'm writing. I'm typing parts of this in tears because the reality of almost losing my brother finally sank in. Humanity is rare on the internet, but this thread flooded us with it. If these words keep even one more family from that edge, sharing them is a must. No one should die of lonely suffering. Even a lone island isn't truly alone. Life teems beneath the surface. Let's prove that to anyone who feels stranded. What we still need, add your piece. I'm still wiping tears because if I hadn't acted on what the dads and moms here shared, I might be planning my brother's funeral right now. Your advice saved him, so I'm leaning in again. If you're still in the thick of it, what's weighing on you right now? Money panic, medication roulette, zero support circle, name it so we can all see it. If you've made it to steadier ground, what do you wish you'd done sooner or wish existed when things were darkest? What's actually helped you fight back? A habit, a line, a resource, share the thing that really moved the needle. Everything you offer will go into a living guide we can all lean on. One late night thread kept my brother here. Together we can keep the next family whole. Bookaholic Forever said, I've said to a friend, either you get therapy now or your kids get it later to try and process why you are dead. Blunt, yes, but blunt is required when it's life and death. Don't shy away from asking outright, are you thinking of killing yourself? OP very likely saved her brother's life. To this confusable Fraggle said, bluntness is sometimes the only thing that makes a person see that others can tell. In the middle of a talk down one time, I told my friend that I absolutely understood their desire to exit the planet, but I would be very upset if they tried it. They were surprised anyone understood. Life was incredibly hard for them in that season. That bluntness was part of what brought them around. They told me later that it was a goodbye phone call that turned into a fine one more try once they knew they were not alone. Bluntness can be a gift when properly used. 2006 Bruin said, OP's brother was not alone. The fact OP answered that 2 a.m. call probably saved him that day. Depression isolates you. You think no one cares, so you don't reach out. OP saved her brother's life that early morning. To this comment, user Jagged Rain said, I had a chat with a friend once about depression and how it works. The way she described it is probably the best I've seen. Depression is a monster that wants to get you alone and then kill you. It convinces you that there's nobody who could help, and even if they could help, they wouldn't, and even if they would help, you shouldn't ask them to. This next post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named Embarrassing Lemon. The post is titled, I told my fiance that I won't help pay the mortgage. For some background, I, a 29-year-old female, and my fiance, a 30-year-old male, have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020, and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up, and my grandma offered for us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown out the idea of going to school, and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiance paid for it, and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. My fiance has been making $90,000 a year for the past couple of years and $70,000 when we first moved in. He has saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school and we could buy a house together. We have been looking at houses more seriously for the past couple of months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker, and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterward I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I would pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage, but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house, and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down payment, it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do, then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership, and if he just wants his own place, fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a bitch, saying that he paid for everything for the past few years, including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare, and that ended up saving us money since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care and that I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to pay the mortgage? Edit. Originally, we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it would be a good idea to go to school so I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiance and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married, and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total cost $17,000 across 5 years. That's $3,400 a year on average. Update. So first, thank you to everyone who commented. A lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those who weren't, I got to see a perspective of how my fiance might be feeling, so thank you for that too. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown, and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree, and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiance said he would pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or a daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship, so he ended up only having to pay, on average, $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiance was going to do. She has said this. For the update, I told my fiance we needed to talk about this arrangement, and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair, but he is now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money, so the house should be his and his alone unless and until I put down 40% also. I asked if he would consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down and we would split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while also giving me equity I would be paying for. He said he would have to think about it, but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no, that we didn't need therapy and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant. He listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about. He treated me with the utmost respect, and he was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it would hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. Update 2. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me I'm not alone in this and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision not to pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed. Thank you. Anyway, tonight he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update, so I told him that my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it, called me a bitch and a gold digger and told me I owe him $30,000. He said I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting and yelling at me for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere or red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube. Sure enough, I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Just Pearly Things, and Aiden Ross. Safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money and he was buying a house. He also said on more than one occasion he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recent, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. A month later, OP gave us her third update. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for an update, so here it is. A few days after my last update, he texted me and asked if we could meet to talk. I agreed, left my child with my grandma, and met him at a coffee shop. He started with an apology and went on about how that wasn't him, that he's a good guy who just drank too much and lost control. He asked me if I still wanted to get married, and I said no. He asked if he could move back in so we could work on things, and I said no. He even offered to do couples therapy, and I said I'd have to think about it. He got quiet and asked if I ever even loved him. I said I did, but I can't handle the whole woe is me thing he's been doing. I said I would have never tried to screw him over in the case of a divorce, and that if I didn't love him, I would have never had a child with him. I said he needs to do individual therapy before I'd consider doing couples therapy with him. He got angry and yelled that I needed therapy more than he did and that he refused to do it without me. He got up and said he was going to take me to court and fight for full custody and that I'd never see a dime from him. I'm assuming he meant child support. Since then, he has tried dropping by unannounced to take our child. My grandma's lawyer friend told me that since we don't have a custody agreement in place, it's a free-for-all, and he could legally take our child across state lines. He said it can be much more difficult to get him back, especially if we don't know where he is. So I didn't let him take our child, but said he's welcome to come visit, though he's not leaving with him until we have a custody arrangement in place. That ended about as well as you could imagine. My grandma told me I can stay as long as I need, and I got my child signed up for daycare. That's all for now. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. True Falsity said, just a daily reminder that people from the manosphere have a vested interest in keeping their viewers single, angry, and miserable. To this comment, Visual Fly said the following, pretty sure none of them are. And the ones that are married are almost certainly not happily married. Worldbound said, she is a registered nurse. She is going to do fine financially without him. The man could have had a decent life with her, but he got stupid and selfish. Those red pill and alpha male podcasts are causing so much brain rot and ruining so many lives. To this, Arwen said, I thought these manosphere guys were supposed to help you get into relationships. Currently, they seem to be the biggest reason men are lonely. No woman wants to do anything with a man who is into these sorts of ideologies, and men who are already in relationships screw themselves just fine. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.